Hi team, today I'm going to speak to you about sport and education and the links between those two things. So you may not have thought about it, but there is a link between where you're educated and your involvement in sport. So you're more likely to be involved in sport or continue your sport if the school is having success in that particular sport. People often choose schools based on their sporting ability. Certain schools around New Zealand will offer scholarships to come and play sport at their school. Most schools around New Zealand place a huge emphasis on sporting achievement. The level of education you have can also affect your sporting participation, and also there is a huge dropout rate between leaving college and starting work or going to university. So you may ask yourself why this is coming about. It's probably because New Zealand has a huge sporting culture and this filters down into the schools. If the school is doing well on the sporting national stage, the public perceive that school to be a good one. It has nothing to do with the education of the students, as people often pick schools based on their child's interest in sport. So from there, you can probably understand that if you're a young aspiring sportsman or sportswoman, you're more likely to pick a school that has good sporting pathways rather than good education pathways. If we have a look around the world, looking at England here, if you go to a private school, which is generally the richer people in England, you're more likely to play rugby or cricket. If you go to the public school, you're more likely to play futsal or football. Public schools are generally the poorer people in England. If we have a look at Brazil, if you go to a public school, again, the poorer people, again, you're looking at playing football or futsal. If you go to a private school, which are the richer people, you're looking at equestrian, horse riding, and volleyball. And the reason this is because it's quite easy to pick up a football or something, ball shape and kick it around in the streets, whereas it's quite hard to get your hands on a horse or get into an indoor facility to play volleyball. So a little bit more money tied up with those private school sports. If we look at New Zealand and in particular Upper Hutt, if you're a keen lifter and personal training is the way that you want to go with your career, then Hiratonga and the Armoury is a really good place for you. If you're a young aspiring rugby player, you're probably more likely to go to St. Pat's Silverstream. Okay, so very traditional, a lot of culture around their rugby, and they produce some really good rugby players. So if you are a rugby player, you're probably not going to come to Hiratonga College as they don't currently have a first 15. You're more likely to look at the pathways through St. Pat's Silverstream. So what I'd like you to do now, guys, is there's a clip that's just coming up. It is a promo video for college sport, and in particular the traditional between St. Pat's Town and St. Pat's Stream. And I want you to think, if you were an up-and-coming rugby player and you had the choice between Hiratonga College and maybe St. Pat's Town or St. Pat's Stream, which college would you go to after you watched this clip and took in the information? Okay, so have a quick look at this clip, and I'll see you in a couple of seconds.
So, first 15, what's it like playing for St. Pat's?
Playing along the brothers in blue is always good. The hype they bring to me in trainings throughout the week, it was awesome. So yeah, I love it.
So you got the Stream Exchange coming up. How big is that for yourself and your team?
Traditionals against Stream are always big. The crowds are always big. A lot of the support coming from school and the community, it should be big. We've been waiting for this game for so long. The haka brings a lot of vibe and a lot of hype before the game, and it does help a lot in preparing for the game before kickoff, so yeah, it's good.
How do you win this traditional?
Basically there'll be 11 contests during the day, and the school that wins the most will win the overall trophy. So closest obviously 6-5 or 11-0 to St. Pat's Town.
That's what we hope.
We do. As old boys, that's what we want.
Exactly.
Great, so hopefully you looked at that clip. Quite an interesting one. Really, they are only just first 15 rugby players. A lot of them might not continue with rugby, and a lot of them might not make it very far in rugby, but they're built up to be heroes, sort of the main people of the school. And as you can see with that clip, there was absolutely nothing on education. It was just purely on the game. So if you were an up-and-coming aspiring rugby player, then you'd probably go to a school like that rather than a Hiratonga College. Your level of education can also affect your sport. So there's a major dropout rate after a person leaves college. The struggle to find a club is quite hard. It can be too difficult, and especially when all your friends stop playing, you're more likely to stop playing. If you leave college early, you tend to be a bit smaller / less skilled than the older players. So in terms of physicality, you might find that you don't fit in, and the older players, because they've had a bit more experience, tend to be a little bit better. And also in New Zealand, club sport is often seen as a place for the more talented players to continue their development. So that's why between college and working or going off to university, there's a major dropout rate in New Zealand sport. Some key facts around that: 70% of kids who participate in sport drop out between the ages of 13 and 17, so pretty young. 62% of kids that play sport indicate they're highly likely to drop out of sport, and 79% of kids said sport was something you do at school. Okay, so some interesting ideas there. Obviously at school, it's a bit easier, everything's organized for you. You just need to opt into playing for a team, and you have a coach, and they do all that stuff for you. Whereas when you go to club, you need to organize yourself to get to trainings, to get to games, and obviously the competition is quite high to play as high as you can. So hopefully I've opened your eyes a little bit to the links between education and sport, and you can make some of your own ideas from that. Thank you for listening, guys. See you later.